Hey, welcome back to Lenfen's Cocktails. We're gonna do another gin review, and tonight's gin will be Suntory's Roku Gin. This gin is pretty tasty, and it's called Roku, which is 6 in Japanese for its 6 main botanicals, and I'm gonna read these off. Sakura flower, sakura leaf, sansho pepper, yuzu peel, sencha tea, and gyokuro tea. I don't really know what those last two teas are, as I don't think I've had them before, but the other flavors are pretty popular and common here in Japan. The yuzu citrus is a bitter, kind of lemon-like citrus, but the peel of it is definitely pretty tasty. And as you can tell, this is probably gonna be a citrus-forward gin. Sakura is really popular here in Japan. It's the cherry blossoms. It's definitely a big thing here in Japan, and they use both the flower and the leaves to impart flavors, along with other standard gin botanicals like juniper. It's a gin, it's gotta have juniper. It comes in at 47% ABV, which means it's gonna be pretty strong and hold up in a lot of cocktails or on its own pretty well, I think. But let's get to try it. All right, we've got our gin poured. Give it a nice swirl, aerate it a little bit, and give it a smell. That is definitely gin. Without a doubt, that is gin. It's a little bit of ethanol on the nose, which I am not too surprised by its high proofiness for a gin. But it does have a little bit of citrus going on there. Not too much else. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So as I said earlier, this definitely has like a citrus forward vibe to it, but on the back end you get some of those peppers and a little bit of bitterness from the yuzu, which is kind of cool, and I really like it. You also definitely get a strong undercurrent of juniper, which is unsurprising because it is a gin and you want juniper in your gin, I think. So that's pretty much there. But the sakura, I'm not getting a lot of those strong cherry flavors or the other known associated flavors with sakura, but maybe in a cocktail it'll show up more. Full disclosure here, I've used Roku Gin for a long time now, and it's one of the first gins that I bought beside like a basic Beefeater gin to really get to know other gin type flavors beside the kind of basic ones, and I've been a big fan of it ever since. It actually works really well in martinis. In fact, it was in the first martini that I really enjoyed that I made at home, and that stood out to me a lot, and so I've definitely been a fan of it ever since. But let's go ahead and make it in a gimlet, and we'll see how this goes in our standard gin cocktail. All right, let's try our gimlet. Oh, a good gimlet is so refreshing on a hot summer day like today. And just for clarity, again, this is 2 ounces of gin, 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, and 1/2 ounce of rich simple syrup, just to be consistent. And right off the bat, instead of the lime being the major note here, it is 100% a yuzu taste. It has that bitter citrus overtone, which is really unexpected given the flavor when I tried it by itself. It's really good though and very refreshing. That little bit of bitterness, it's kind of like a grapefruit bitterness, but not really, in that it doesn't have that grapefruit flavor for sure. It's like a bitter, lemony, lime type thing, and it's really tasty. So I think this gin has a really good potential, especially in citrus forward cocktails like this, or as I mentioned before in martinis. I find it exceptionally tasty. It is a little bit of a pricier gin because it does come in around $35 to $40 a bottle, but I definitely think it's worth the price because you're getting a lot of unique and interesting flavors that you wouldn't get in a standard gin, and it is pretty tasty and it's unique to Japan, so I definitely recommend trying this out. I've tried another Japanese gin just straight up called yuzu gin in a prior gin review, and that one had a huge yuzu flavor as you would expect as well, but I think this one also has a big yuzu flavor without being necessarily called yuzu gin. It's pretty tasty and I think you should give it a try. Let me know what you think. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, and cheers as always. Let's have a gimlet.